One of the things that you probably have started to notice as we were talking about procedures and we're talking about principles is maybe your brain already went there to the idea of automation of tasks. So if you think about chatbots, if you think about apps, there are lots of tasks that can be automated seamlessly. And those tasks are usually procedural in nature, right? So the reason you can order something from DoorDash is because there are ways to determine, what do I want to order from that menu? What's the first step? What's the next step? What's the next step? That's a procedure. So automation works really, really well for jobs that are procedural in nature, but it doesn't work very well for jobs that are principle based or for transfer tasks. And that's what we're kind of seeing now with the onslaught of generative AI, is that we're trying to take a procedural approach and apply it to a far transfer task. And ultimately, that is often the goal, is to try to take something that is more strategic and turn it into a procedure for yourself. But because context varies, because nuance matters, it doesn't often translate that way. And so this is what I find particularly problematic, is that we try to automate things that are not amenable to automation so readily. And that's what I see us trying to do with generative AI. And the responsibility gets put into how we prompt the information, right? So it's on us to write the prompt so that the procedural thinker, the machine, understands what it is that we're asking of it, so it can become procedural. So that's problematic. And that's one point why it matters. But the other point, and I think that this is even bigger, and Sam and I talked about this not too long ago on a podcast that we recorded together, is going back to that idea of supervised and unsupervised learning, which is the basis of machine learning. Going back to this instructive versus inductive methodology, how digital content is actually labeled. Who decided what the labels were? Who decided what the categorization was? And what's the potential for bias in who gets to make those decisions? That's what I wanted to leave you with, is this little bit about, we're living in the information world. This is what Ruth Clark was writing about even back in 2008, how more and more of our jobs are information-based. But just because our jobs are information-based doesn't mean that they're procedural in nature. Machines are great at automating procedures. They're not great at far transfer. So the more that we understand how to develop and train far transfer tasks, the more that we're able to distinguish between what's a far transfer task and what's a near transfer task, the more we'll be able to lean into our value as human beings and what we actually bring to the table in our ability to see nuance, to see context, and to make the appropriate decisions and the appropriate judgment, frankly, to be able to effectively train people how to do these kinds of skills.